I remember standing in front of that house for the first time. 3 bedrooms, a backyard with enough space for a grill and a kitchen my wife said she had always dreamed about. I had worked 7 years for this moment. 7 years of 60-hour weeks, skipped vacations, and watching every dollar. My wife, Megan, squeezed my hand and smiled. Her parents stood behind us, beaming with pride. They had helped us with the down payment, and I felt like the luckiest man alive. My brother Tyler had warned me about something weeks earlier, but I brushed him off. I wish I had listened to him before I signed those papers. Before we dive into this story, let me ask you something. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I love seeing how far this community reaches. And if you have not already, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Trust me, you are going to want to hear how this unfolds. Have you ever ignored someone's warning and regretted it later? Stick around, because what I discovered changed everything I thought I knew about my marriage. I met Megan at a tech conference in Austin, Texas. I was one of the speakers that day, presenting on software development trends to a room full of industry professionals. After my talk, she approached me near the coffee station. She had this warm smile and asked thoughtful questions about my presentation. She worked for a partner company, she explained, and she found my perspective refreshing. We exchanged numbers that afternoon. What started as professional networking turned into dinner dates, long phone calls, and weekend trips to explore different parts of the state. Megan had this way of making me feel seen. She remembered the smallest details I mentioned in passing. My favorite sandwich from a deli I visited once as a kid. The name of my childhood dog. The fact that I preferred window seats on airplanes. No one had ever paid that much attention to me before. 18 months later, I got down on one knee at the same spot where we first met. She said yes before I even finished asking. Our wedding was small and intimate, just close family and friends at a local chapel. I remember thinking that day that I had finally found my person. Someone who truly cared about me. Meeting her parents for the first time felt like stepping into a different world. Harold and Patricia lived in a sprawling house in the suburbs of Dallas. The driveway alone could fit 6 cars. Harold owned a small chain of auto repair shops, and Patricia had been a homemaker for most of their marriage. They welcomed me with open arms. Harold shook my hand firmly and called me son. Patricia hugged me like I was already part of the family. Those early dinners at their house felt warm and inviting. Harold always asked about my career, my goals, my salary trajectory. At the time, I thought he was just being a protective father, making sure his daughter was marrying someone stable. Patricia constantly praised my work ethic, telling Megan she had found a good one. I soaked it all in. Coming from a modest background, having successful in-laws who seemed to approve of me meant everything. Looking back, there were small things I should have noticed. Harold always steered conversations toward finances and future planning. Megan rarely disagreed with anything her father said, even when his opinions seemed outdated or controlling. But I was so caught up in being accepted that I ignored these subtle signs. Buying a house had been my dream since childhood. I grew up in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment with my mom and younger brother Tyler. We never had much, but Mom worked 3 jobs to keep us fed and clothed. I promised myself that one day I would own something. A place that was truly mine. For 7 years after graduating college, I saved relentlessly. I took on extra projects at work. I drove a used car that was falling apart. I ate rice and beans more times than I could count. By the time Megan and I got married, I had $80,000 set aside for a down payment. I was proud of that number. It represented sacrifice and discipline. We found the perfect house about 30 minutes from my office. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a spacious living room with big windows, and a backyard where I imagined hosting barbecues with friends. The asking price was $320,000. With my down payment and my salary, I calculated that we could afford the monthly mortgage payments comfortably. Then Harold called with an offer. He wanted to contribute $50,000 toward our down payment. He said it was a gift, a way to help his daughter start her new life. I hesitated at first. I had worked so hard to do this on my own, but Megan insisted. They just want to help us build our future together, she said. Why would you say no to family? Harold drove down the following week with a folder full of papers. He explained that his contribution came with some paperwork for tax purposes. I nodded along, not really understanding the legal jargon. He pointed to places where I needed to sign, and I signed them. Megan stood beside me, smiling. I trusted them completely. About 2 weeks before closing, my brother Tyler came to visit. We sat in the garage of my rental apartment, drinking beers and catching up. Tyler worked as an electrician and had always been more street smart than me. He noticed things that I often missed. Halfway through his second beer, he got serious. I do not trust Megan, he said bluntly. She is always watching you, man. Have you noticed that I laughed it off? What are you talking about? Every time we hang out, she calls you like 5 times. She checks your phone when she thinks you are not looking. And her dad, he asks way too many questions about your money. Something is off. I felt my defenses rise immediately. You do not know her like I do. She is just caring. She worries about me. That is what wives do. Tyler shook his head. There is a difference between caring and controlling, bro. I am just looking out for you. The conversation ended badly. I accused him of being jealous because he was still single. He accused me of being blind. We did not speak for several weeks after that night. At the time, I thought Tyler was trying to sabotage my happiness. I had no idea he was trying to save me from disaster. Closing day arrived on a bright Tuesday morning. I held the keys in my hand and felt tears prick my eyes. This was real. After everything I had been through, I was a homeowner. Megan hugged me tightly. Harold and Patricia took photos of us standing in front of the house, our house, and I felt like I had finally made it. That night we ordered pizza and sat on the empty living room floor making plans for the future. Megan talked about paint colors and furniture. I talked about building a deck in the backyard. We fell asleep on an air mattress surrounded by boxes, and I remember thinking that nothing could ruin this moment. I had no idea how wrong I was. The first month in our new home felt like a dream. We unpacked boxes, arranged furniture, and started turning the house into something that felt like ours. But slowly, things began to shift in ways I could not quite name. Megan suggested we combine our finances into a joint account. It made sense, she argued. We were married now. We should manage money together as a team. I agreed without much thought. But soon she started asking me to report every purchase I made. A coffee from the shop near my office. A new pair of work shoes. Everything required an explanation. When I mentioned buying a new set of tools for the garage, she shook her head firmly. That is not in the budget right now. Maybe next month. When Derek, my best friend from college, invited me to a football game, Megan frowned. We cannot afford to waste money on entertainment. We have a mortgage now. I found myself asking for permission before spending anything, even small amounts. At first, I rationalized it. She was better at budgeting than me. She was just being responsible. But the knot in my stomach grew tighter each time she said no. Harold and Patricia started visiting frequently. At least twice a week, sometimes more, they would show up unannounced. Patricia would walk through the house, commenting on how I had arranged things. The couch would look better against that wall. Why did you put the dishes in that cabinet? Harold would ask about our mortgage payments, wanting to know exact amounts and dates. One afternoon, Harold handed me a spare key request. Just in case of emergencies, he explained. You never know when something might happen and we need to get inside. I looked at Megan, expecting her to say something. She just nodded. My parents are just trying to help Keith. Do not make this weird. Slowly, I started feeling like a guest in my own home. Harold called contractors without asking me first. Patricia rearranged our kitchen while we were at work. When I expressed frustration to Megan, she dismissed my concerns. They have done so much for us. The least we can do is let them feel welcome. Around the same time, I noticed my relationships outside the marriage starting to fade. Derek called one Saturday morning, wanting to go fishing like we used to do in college. Megan overheard and immediately jumped in. We have plans that weekend, she said before I could respond. I did not remember making any plans, but I did not argue. The same pattern repeated itself over the following months. Every time a friend reached out, Megan had a reason why I could not go. We were too busy. We needed to save money. She did not feel well and needed me home. My mother called one evening asking when she could come see the new house. I told her I would talk to Megan and get back to her. That conversation never happened. Every time I brought it up, Megan deflected. Maybe next month. We are still getting settled. Months turned into a year, and my mother still had not visited. Derek stopped calling. My coworkers stopped inviting me to after-work gatherings because I always said no. I told myself that this was just what marriage required. Sacrifice, compromise, putting your spouse first. But deep down I felt more alone than I had ever felt in my life. Tyler reached out during our grandmother's memorial service about 2 years after I bought the house. It was the first time we had really talked since our argument. He pulled me aside after the ceremony, concern etched on his face. "When is the last time you did something without asking Megan first?" he asked quietly. I opened my mouth to answer and realized I could not remember. "You have changed, Keith. You used to be your own person. Now you check in with her like she is your boss, not your wife. And why is her dad always at your house? It is your house, not theirs." Anger flared in my chest. "You are just jealous because you are still single," I snapped. "Megan is the best thing that ever happened to me. You would understand if you had someone." Tyler's face fell. He did not argue back. He just walked away, and we did not speak again for a long time.